Hey guys, it's Rex Wurx Outdoors. Today we are building a new attachment. Well, we are repurposing a little piece of yard equipment, turning it into an attachment for my mini skid. So I bought this, it is technically called a pine straw rake. I bought this to pull behind my zero turn. So I bought the pine straw rake to use at my last house. I had about 3 acres and I had a bunch of oak trees and hickory trees, so it produced a ton of leaves. And I had a big circle drive, big rock circle drive, and all of those leaves swirled around and built up in my circle drive. My circle drive had like a retaining wall that was about 4 to 5 foot tall because it tapered up, and all those leaves just built up in there. Well, I bought that to try to maintain my yard a little bit better, and it was worthless. It did not work well on a zero turn for me. So I've had this piece of yard equipment sitting waiting for some way to repurpose it. Well, I recently bought my mini skid steer, and I'm like, man, I wish, because I go back and after I get done, I try to rake everything out to try to cover my tracks, try to hide stuff, and I'm constantly raking. I thought, man, if I could turn this thing into a large rake, it may benefit me. That beats it sitting in the yard rusting. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to take this pine straw rake. I bought an attachment plate that has a 2-inch receiver for my mini skid. I've got this receiver adapter that I'm going to mount to the top of this. I'm going to weld it to the top of that. I'm going to cut all of that garbage off, and then I've got a piece of receiver tube that I got repurposed from my buddy Randy. He had it and had no use for it, so I'm going to take these two pieces. I'm going to weld that on there. I'll take the receiver tube and it'll slide in here, and I'll be able to attach this from either way, whether I want to go up and pull back or whether I want to spin it around and go up and push. So I'll be able to push it with it or pull with it, depending on which way I put it on that receiver tube. So stick around. That's what we're going to do. We're going to cut this stuff apart, weld that on, and mount it up to the mini skid. So there's really not going to be too much fabrication or anything really cool or neat in building this. We're just going to cut this tab right here off, and then we'll unbolt this stuff, these brackets. I'll probably cut these 2 brackets right here. I don't even want them. They'll just kind of basically be in my way. This thing has been a headache since the day I got it. It never has really worked as intended. I'm going to take my benchmark cutoff wheel. I'm going to cut off that ring, and then we're going to weld on the receiver tube. Benchmark flap disc. Made quick work of that. Now I haven't decided whether I'm going to take these off or kind of grind them down. I kind of need the bolts on there, but they're gonna be in the way when I go to mount this bracket, or the receiver tube. So I might just, not exactly sure what I'm gonna do. I am gonna weld a bead here because this was designed to bolt together. It come in a box, so I'm sure, I bought it used, so I'm sure the previous owner bought it from Amazon or some other big box store like that. It's just all bolt together stuff. Well guys, I'm not gonna be able to do any welding. Like you probably saw one of my earlier videos, my little garage just can't power my welder because I've got a 20 amp circuit and it just keeps tripping my breaker every time I even plug this thing in. So I'm done fighting with it. But what I am gonna do is I'm gonna cut those tabs off. I'm gonna take this piece and then the receiver, and I'm gonna take it over to my buddy Randy's and weld it. So Randy's my go-to when I gotta have anything welded. I can weld and I have the equipment here to weld it. Unfortunately, my garage is just not capable of powering my welder. I live in this, it's one of my rentals, and I should have, when I rewired the place, I should have went ahead and supplied more power to this little garage. I was thinking it just needs a light and a couple outlets, but I should have went ahead and give it a little bit more than what I did. So stick around. All right, guys, I had to mooch off my buddy Randy again. I had to come over and we're gonna hook up his welder and I'm gonna weld that where that junction is, where it bolts together. I'm gonna weld that, and then I'm gonna weld this on there. And that tool should be done. Then I'll just be able to use the receiver hitch and mount it directly to the bracket and go test it out. Stick around. As long as it's somewhat close. All it is a rake. Look at that. That's pretty close. Close enough. All right, guys, we are back. We've got the mini skid. We've got our attachment plate mounted. It's a 3-point receiver hitch attachment plate mounted to a piece of receiver tube mounted to my rake that I just fabricated. So what I've got going is I can run this either by going up and grabbing and pulling back, or I can take this off, spin it around, and I can use it to push. I can't pivot it because it wasn't designed that way. I just did it the easiest way possible. This thing weighs about 30 pounds, so I can unpin that, pull it off, spin it around. And the reason I put this where it is and the way it is so I can spin it around, and my tube will be long enough to come from this side and still be able to hit that pin. Because I already had this was given to me, this was given to me, and I purchased this. So altogether, this plate was $80, and I'll put a link to it in the description. And the other stuff was free. I'd already purchased this secondhand about 4 or 5 years ago, something like that, and just kind of been setting. So what I've got here, it's my neighbor's property. I mow my neighbor's yard, and last summer, this big tree behind my property, this is the neighbor's property, behind my property, a big limb came off and it fell right here. And it kind of hit the corner of her garage, and the city just pushed it over out of the way. And I came in and I cut it up, cleared it off, got rid of the wood, but I never came back and picked up all of the small sticks. I mean, this isn't really a small stick, but I just got the big stuff out of the way that I could grab real quick. Well, it's mowing season again, and I've neglected this to get it cleaned up. So I'm gonna move this big stick, but there's a whole bunch of small sticks down in here underneath the growth. I'm gonna see if I can't rake some of this stuff to the surface and get it in a pile. Then I can use the grapple it up, and throw it in the dump trailer. It'll be a good little test for it. There's nothing really big. It's just a bunch of small debris from the rotted tree that fell. Well, it don't like the down pressure. Epic fail. All right, I'm gonna show you what happened. And I kind of concerned myself with this, but I thought, nah, we'll give it a shot. So with the down pressure that the machine has versus the thickness of this material, this booger just kind of bent right in the center. You can see that it just bent. The tines, so the tines were flexing, but it's just not solid enough in the center. Which, to be perfectly honest, I don't care. it was a trial because I have not used this thing in a couple of years because it was worthless behind my mower. I thought, well, I wanted a landscape rake, but man, finding a used landscape rake, it's kind of expensive, and I didn't want to go purchase one just to see if I could make something work. So I thought, well, I'll give this a shot. Well, it's a fail. And apparently whenever I stuck my bracket on, I also didn't have it bolted, or I didn't have it connected good, because this one is not in and that one is, so it's got things in a bind right here, or maybe it jumped out, I don't know, whenever I was trying to pull stuff around. So, well guys, you saw it. I tried and it's a failure. We can go back to the drawing board. I think the tines will still work. I'm just gonna have to beef up that backbone. I have to do something a heck of a lot sturdier than what I've got. So we're still gonna tweak on a little bit, not today. Once again, it's gonna rain here in a little bit, and I need to get this mess cleaned up that I just created. So guys, this is Rex, Rex Wurx Outdoors. If you like the content, I'm gonna put links to more videos in the corner. I'd appreciate it if you give me a thumbs up and give me a subscribe. And I'm out of here. Grandsons, Pop Q loves you. Hope you guys are having a good day.